Hello, everyone. My name is Vanzil Burke. I am the CEO of the Burke Management firm. We are a management company as well as a full service production house. Some of the talent we represent stars like Rory Jones Jr., the boxer, Dorian Wilson, Todd Bridges, Darius McCrary, all big television stars. And as a production house, we have produced one of the top major films we produced is Karen, Karen. Big film we did back in 2020 during the pandemic, distributed in 2021. And we've done a few other projects since then. Currently, we are shooting a series called Cocaine Sisters. 14 episodes. We have already finished 8 episodes that are now released on Urban Flix TV. So we have 2 shows that's premiering on that network right now. Cocaine Sisters is one of them.
Vanzil Burke, welcome to the Make It podcast.
Thank you for having me, Chris. I'm excited to be here.
Likewise. And I did not know about Cocaine Sisters.
Yes.
I do have pages and pages of notes here. So I know we're going to have an incredible conversation and one that will be valuable for the listening audience and the viewing audience on YouTube. Don't want to leave you guys out. But before I get into that and talk more about your projects, including Cocaine Sisters, let's rewind and make sure we do our job here and let this audience know a little bit more about you. So I'm going to read a little bit from a bio. And, this is the internet. So if anything's not accurate, just amend to it, say, hey, that's not true anymore or whatever. But this is what we have. All right. So Vanzil Burke is the CEO of the Burke Management firm based in Beverly Hills, California. The firm, founded in 2007, is a talent management agency inspired and founded on strong core values, of integrity, honesty, and trustworthiness. After graduating from Florida A&M University with a computer science degree, Vanzil relocated to Los Angeles, California to pursue his dream of becoming a Hollywood talent manager. This has allowed him to foster reliable and trustworthy relationships with key stakeholders in the film, TV, music, and other entertainment-related sectors. Vanzil believes that when the business is handled properly, the talented individuals themselves can effectively focus on improving their craft, producing true art. His visionary ideas in seeking to improve the entertainment business, coupled with his inextinguishable passion for empowering the youth, are integral in this type of environment. As the CEO, Vanzil oversees all of the operations at Burke Management and ensures that the company values are implemented in every aspect. His brother Victor, great guy in his own right, serves as president of Burke Management. And Vanzil, I would love to start with take you way, way back in time here. I'd love to start with who was the Funky Fresh crew?
Oh, I got chills. You took me way back. So the Funky Fresh crew, man, we were, just neighborhood friends, including my middle brother. So Victor is my oldest brother, and there's one in the middle of us. His name is Vance. All of us have the same initials, VTB. So Vance and I were in a rap group. Vance was the lead rapper, and it was 8 of us all together in the group. It was a big group of all friends, and everybody was related, meaning me and my brother, and then it was another 2 brothers, and then 2 cousins, and then so everybody was like related. But again, we just grew up together, and we started this rap group, and the rap group ended up being something. We got a song put on the radio in Middle Georgia, which that was a big deal, because to have a song on the radio was like huge. We were hired to perform at all of the local surrounding high schools for the proms. So we would be coming and do this special entertainment. Well, Victor was our manager. Because we're from a very small town, and our families are well known in the city, my oldest brother used our shall I say influence in the city to pull some strings. So he went to the funeral home, said, "Hey guys, can when we are doing events at night, can we use the limo?" So we could drive. So we were driven around in the limo, and they would have the group in the limo, and so it just made us feel like stars. My brother made us feel like stars, and I just always remember how he took care of us and how he made us feel. So that was the Funky Fresh crew. My role in the group, um, I'm short, right? We all are short in my family, rather. So I was 13. I was 13, but we said that I was 11 or 10 or, and it worked. So I had the confidence of a 13-year-old, but I looked like I was 10 or 11. So that's what we went with for show purposes. So you see this little 10-year-old kid on stage, grab the mic and start rapping with his little Jerry curl. It was like, so I was kind of like the show stiller at the end of the show. So that was the Funky Fresh crew, and that's kind of what got us started in the entertainment industry.
That's amazing. What became of the Funky Fresh crew? Did how did you guys break up amicably, or was there like a falling out?
Yeah. So for those, I'm going to tell my age a little bit, but if we kept going, we would have most certainly been like a known group.
Yeah.
We hit right around the time that the group ABC hit.
Hmm.
ABC was back in the day. We They came like right after us, but we were being looked at also. But at the same time, my middle brother, who was kind of like the leader of the group, because he's always been like that leader guy. To this day, he's still that guy. So he started focusing more on his athletic career in high school,
Mm.
and so that became more middle school. But that kind of became his focus is playing football, wrestling, and like being an athlete. So because that took the place of the music, it kind of we started going our separate ways. By this time, my oldest brother Victor was in college at Albany State University, and so we didn't have my oldest brother to push, guide, lead us. My middle brother to kind of keep the ball rolling, and then I was just like going with whatever they did. So that's kind of how we kind of went our separate ways, but we all are still friends to this day.
What's your favorite bar? Do you remember your favorite bar from back then?
Yeah, you want me to do it?
Yeah, yeah,
All right, so my rap would go. It's so embarrassing. My rap would go. I'm the little guy that didn't rap last time, so don't get surprised if I bust or rhyme. I don't like boys, and it's like that. I'll slap them in the face, and that I'm too slap back. I said I'm only 11. I used to be 7. When I die, I'm gonna keep on rocking till I go to heaven. So don't get upset or even mad. I may be little, but I know I'm bad. That was
yeah.
so.
That's dope.
Yeah, you say what's your favorite bar? That was the only one. That was my rap, and that was it. That's all I said. The
Okay.
whole every show. That was it.
People have to understand that, like, at the time that this was like popping, that would have been like a great verse. Like
Yeah.
like rap hadn't become as linguistic as it is now.
Oh
I think
yeah.
now we're like post linguistic, where people are just mumbling a little bit, and
Correct.
sort of like the deliveries about, it's like this purposeful, uh, almost uh, drug induced sort of slur,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
on purpose, because when you meet these people, they don't talk like that.
Correct.
And when me and you came up in hip hop, you wouldn't want your voice to be different than your rap voice,
Correct.
because that would be coming incorrect. You know what I mean?
Correct.
To me, that's what made like a guy like Buster Rhymes so powerful, is that
Yes.
you thought he had this affected voice, and you talk to him, no, he sounds like
For real.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. Real life.
Yeah. So I mean, back then that would have been that would have been. I appreciate you doing that. That
Oh
was
man, that took me
incredible,
back.
and I can relate to the showstopper part too. Going out at the end, I used to have a singing group named Solace,
Mm.
And I was the falsetto guy. So I was the guy who would sing all the high notes.
Yeah.
I was like that Mark Nelson, Sean Stockman guy on the group.
Yeah.
And at the end of every show, my job was to go to the front of the stage and then get on one knee
Yep.
because we were an R&B group,
Yep. You
and
gotta
then
get
I would sing ending runs in like a falsetto. But I had a co-founder of the group with me. His name was Jeff, and Jeff would not like to see all the ladies, swooning over me,
correct.
right?
Yep.
They didn't like that. They used to call me Al B. Shore, and they didn't want. And so they didn't want me to have those Al B. Shore moments.
Okay, we're
And
taking this
so
after the show.
yeah, well, he was getting on one knee, so I'd be over there singing my little piece, and I'd look at my peripheral vision.
Yeah.
I look to my left, it'd be just on one knee over here too,
What?
singing and doing runs. So I'm like, oh, we're destined for failure
Yeah.
because we can't even get past the little stuff,
Yeah.
you know.
Man.
So I'm totally with you. I get it.
Oh, totally.
I appreciate you indulging that little part of your life for me because I relate so much to it. But I promise you, we'll get on talent management and film here.
Man, I thought we were gonna rap some more. I was ready. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Now I got your juices going.
Yeah.
Your first client, correct me if I'm wrong, was your mom.
My mom and my niece were our first clients. Yeah. I should say
How did you convince your mom to let you represent her?
so you have to kind of understand how did we end up in LA.
Yeah.
So my middle brother had a child when he was in college.
Okay.
My mom and dad immediately took her so my brother could finish school and his girlfriend at the time can go on about her career and life as well. So my mom and dad took this baby, right?
Mm-hmm.
I noticed right off, just like as a child, before she could walk, she was very talented. I've always had that gift to just spot it. So I could see it in her. She just would smile and just like it. And as she got older, she would walk and just all this personality.
Yeah.
So we lose my dad in '99, which that was tough. We lost him. So when we lost dad, I've got to get my mom busy. So I say, Mom, why don't we put my niece, her name is Valea with a V also, put her in acting classes. So she puts her in acting classes in Atlanta. We live from Dublin, Georgia, which is about a 2-hour drive. So Valea's in acting classes in Atlanta. Meanwhile, my mom was an English teacher at my high school. My mom also was a drama teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So every year she would put on a spring play and a fall play at the high school. So she did that acting, our acting coach put it on these plays. So in the yearbook, and I'm going to bring this all the way back around, but in the yearbook, back in the day, you have your picture and people will sign the yearbook.
Right.
So in the yearbook for my mom's last year teaching, they asked her, what do you want to do when you retire? She says, well, I want to move to Hollywood and become an actress. And she put that in the book, not really realizing manifestation, not really understanding the power of words, not really understanding what you want, write it, and it will come to pass. It really does work that way. So she wrote that and said it and not realizing it was really going to come to pass because, we had no idea we would end up in Hollywood.
Right.
Fast forward to dad passes. I'm now in Atlanta. And my niece goes to New York to do a competition called IMTA. She was 5 years old. IMTA stands for International Modeling and Talent Association. And it happens once in New York, once in LA, twice a year for really kids. So my niece goes to the one in New York, agents in LA say she's brilliant, she should be in Hollywood. And mom, meaning my mom, you should be in Hollywood too. So they call me in Atlanta and say, hey, we were told we should be in Hollywood, but there's no way we can do that. But it's just impressive that they think we should go. I say, Mom, I'm going to call you back. And I'll tell you more about that in a minute, Chris. But I hang up the phone and I resign from my job right on the spot.
Wow.
because I already knew in my degrees in computer science, I was working for a company in the field of computer science, and I wasn't happy. I was not fulfilled. I was making great money, single in Atlanta, had a brand new convertible BMW, money, but not happy, not
Mhm.
fulfilled, and I just lost my dad. So so I'm like, there's nothing holding me back. I want to be a manager. I want to be in Hollywood. And I needed a sign, and that was the sign. So I quit my job that day. I walk out. I call my mom and say, Mom, I just resigned. We're going to Hollywood. She starts crying. Why'd you do that? That didn't make sense. Why? So we leave, and I'm like, let's go. And so we pack up and we move to LA. My mom and my niece became my first clients, and I didn't know what I was doing. But we, got our own actors access and backstage, and had her doing some background work. And she did a John Legend music video and little things like that, little back. But I didn't know I was doing. I didn't know anybody, but I just jumped in and got started. And that was in 2002, between 2002 and 2004.
That is an incredible story. That's an incredible. Thank you for sharing that, because we have had a few people that make those type of commitments. We had a previous guest named Emil Giardo, who grew up in East LA, had a tech job in San Francisco. He said he was making a ton of money, basically almost doing nothing, and just walked out the same way you did. I just wonder, I know you were looking for a sign, but how did you know that was the sign?
Because I literally asked that day for a sign. I, I and I was speaking to someone earlier today, Chris. I meditate every day and I talk to God, and when I talk to God, I literally say, God, show me the way, make it plain, make it clear. I don't want to try to figure out, wait, was that it? Was that the sign? Make it plain, make it clear. And that's what that was. I always ask, just make it plain, make it clear. And so I was literally like, it was big problems at my job with me. The company knew I wasn't happy. They probably were going to fire me to be, what, because I wasn't in it and I wasn't committed. And so I'm like, I need a sign. Like, God,
Yeah,
just give me a sign. And I'm telling you, Chris, after I said that, I sat at my computer. Within 2 or 3 minutes, my phone rings, and it was my mom. So I knew what that was.
that's
I knew right away. I'm like, that's it. That's it. And when I resigned, my boss said, "Wait, what's happening? What are you going to do?" I said, "I'm going to move to Hollywood." And he said, "When did you decide that?" And I said, 5 minutes ago. They thought I was really going through it and grieving, because my
right.
dad's like, he's like, we know you're going through a lot, you grieve. I'm like, no, my dad always said, once I graduate from college, I can do whatever I want to do, but I got to graduate from college first. And
Mm.
he says, then you can take your degree anywhere. And so I said, I don't have kids. I'm not married. I have a degree. I have, dad left us money. So I'm like, I have resources. What am I afraid of? So I'm out of here. That was it.
What a story. You mentioned that you were working in IT. I'm curious, and you majored in computer science at Florida A&M. Great university, by the way. Uh,
Yes. Yes.
have you, fast forward to today, has that background helped you at all in celebrity management? And if so, what ways?
Mm-mm. It's embarrassing. Usually, if someone's on someone's computer, it's like, oh, talk to Vanzil. I'm like, don't talk to me. You got to waste everybody's time.
You don't want to be tech support.
Nah, nah. So the reality is this. I went to Florida A&M University to major in biology pre-med.
Mm.
That was my so let me go back. I went to Florida A&M University because of the Marching 100. Let's be clear.
Okay. Yeah.
So the March 100, the world's greatest marching band, right? 100%. So my dad took me to see the band in like 91. I was like in eighth, ninth grade or whatever. I see the band perform in Atlanta. And when I saw the band perform, I've always been the kind of kid that once I see something and I know that's what I want, like I'm going to make it happen. Like that's it. So once I put my mind to it, so I saw the band perform and I'm like, Dad, I got to be in that band. And he was like, all right, son, because I was in high school band anyway. So from that point forward, from ninth grade until I graduated, my eyes were set on Florida A&M University to be in the March 100. So I go to Florida A&M. I joined the marching band, the Marching 100. One of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. My closest friends were still just like this, band members. It's a very special band. Anyway, I started majoring in pre-med biology at Florida A&M University. I was going to be a cardiovascular surgeon. I always said that when I was a kid, I'm going to be a cardiovascular surgeon, not really realizing entertainment was always my thing. So my first semester, Chris, my grades were horrible. I mean, like I was studying and I was making 30s and 20s. It was horrible.
Man. Yeah.
Well, the professor pulled me to the side, said, well, got two questions. One, you can't do pre-med and be in the marching band. Like you can't do both. And I say, well, that's a problem for me because I chose this university and my mom and dad are paying out of state fees. I don't get financial support, financial aid from the state or school. My parents pay for everything cash. And because I'm out of state, they're paying lots of out of state fees so I can be in this marching band. So that I gotta be in this marching band. Like that's why I came here. She said, okay, why you want to be a doctor? She says, is it because you really want to help people or do you want the financial security that doctors have and that this career can afford? I said, I want the financial security. I've got to have a lifestyle and it's got to, and I know even as a young kid, I know that I've always had high expectations of myself and I've always wanted and have been fortunate to have a lifestyle and I need to be able to have that. So if I'm a doctor and a surgeon, then I'll be wealthy and she says, this is not for you. This is not for you. She says, change your major. And so I talked to my dad, and he said, I support that. So it became. He said, "Well, son, you love computers, and you love business. So why don't you major in business and major in computer science? Because computer science, at least you can make good money and you can be secure." And so that's what I decided to major in. So that's how I ended up majoring in computer science.
For this international audience that may not know, at a HBSU, the band, historically black school university, the band is a big deal. It's not like it is at other public universities or private universities where it just like exists as if it's the Glee Club. No, at a black university, the band is where you want to be. It's not like you're a character in the movie American Pie, where you're going to band camp.
Correct.
Yeah, this is a big deal.
If your audience has ever seen the movie, oh my gosh, what's the name of the band movie? I can't believe it.
Oh, you're talking about the one with Nick Cannon?
Yes.
Drumline?
Drumline.
Yep.
Yeah. So that movie was based on the Florida A&M University March 100.
Yep.
In fact, most of the band members in that fictitious band were former members of the March 100. So the writer is from Florida A&M University. So, but that gives you a good inside look of what it meant to be a part of that band and in the HBCU. Like that's the culture in black bands and HBCUs. So yeah, that is the culture. It is the place you want to be, as you said, Chris.
Yes, sir. What instrument did you play?
The trumpet.
Trumpet? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I love the trumpet. It was I play piano now, but the trumpet was the first instrument I actually tried to play.
Oh,
so
nice.
Yeah. I got discouraged when I was in middle school because this kid told me my lips were too big to play trumpet, and I listened to him like a
No,
fool,
you should
but
not.
I should not have.
You
Maybe I'll
should.
get back to it. Yeah.
Go ahead.
What,
Why not?
what a hater. But back then the word hater didn't even exist. So when
That's
somebody
what he
told you that, you
was.
just took it to heart.
Yep,
You're like,
you
oh,
did.
he must be onto something. Um, you've been doing this a while now. What should when should a creative, for those listening in the audience that are looking for representation, looking for a manager, in your opinion, when should a creative seek a talent manager?
So it's a good question. It depends on who you are seeking as a talent manager.
Hmm.
Now, if you are so all I'm going to be giving is my professional opinion.
Okay.
It's not the gospel, it is my opinion as a professional in this industry. So, in my professional opinion, if you're a creative and you're trying to get started in this industry, if you have someone that's going to just kind of dedicate all of their time just to you to kind of help you see this thing through and help that career, that'll be good as a manager. But if you're trying to get with like a management company, then I always say to people, we get reached out to daily, and we're fortunate that people seek us on a regular basis. But a lot of young independent people, and I say young, I'm not saying in age, I mean in industry. Young in the industry, I need a manager. And so my very first question sometimes is, what do you need managed? Because a manager has to have something to manage.
Right.
So, well, I'm just trying to make it. I'm trying to figure out what to do and how to work. Well, you don't need a manager. Like a manager's got to have a career and a something to manage. So that's why the majority of our clients are stars or are working producers or working directors or writers because they have things that need to be managed, including projects they're already doing or deals that's coming down the pike that have to be negotiated. Like there's a real career that we're managing it. So a lot of times, in my opinion, artists sometimes think that they need a manager and they don't need a manager out the gate. An agent, yes, but so you don't come and you just automatically end up with a CAA or an ICM or William Morris
Mhm.
or a Paradigm. Now, sometimes young kids that hit big shows or big series are with the big agencies, but that's usually because they have been on a big show, and then the agency will come and swoop them up. But in the meantime, go with a smaller agency, like a really boutique style agency, and then just work your way up. Because while you're with these boutique agencies, sure, you're going to get independent projects. Sure, you're going to get projects sometimes not even making any money, but that's okay. You're going to be using that to get the experience. You're going to be using that to build your reel. You're going to be using that to build your resume. Then you take that and you can get the bigger projects. You can get the bigger agent. Now suddenly you need a manager. Or a manager can see the trajectory that you're on because of the work you've already done. Hence, that's the key, the work you've already done. And now a manager can have something to dig into. Because
Mhm.
at that point, if like Burke Management, if we see a client or a talent who's already putting in the work, doing a really good job, making some headway, but just now you need that right agent and we could see it and we believe in it. Now I can take that person who's already done some of the work and say, hey, some of my agents friends who are bigger agents, I can say, hey, this, I see it, they got it. Here's some of the work they've already done, but I at least have something to show. So my advice is, don't jump out the gate thinking you need a manager. Jump out the gate and go get the work, do the work. There's so much you can do by yourself as an independent to show the work and to build that resume and the reel. You can go on Actors Access. You can look at breakdowns. You can do all of this stuff. Work with friends on independent projects. You don't got to pay me. Just let me use the footage to use my reel. Like they've got to put that work in. ahead of time as well. So there's a time and a place to get a manager and to seek a manager, but it is not at the beginning.
How many people can a manager manage before a creative says, this is a problem? In your professional opinion, experience.
And the creative meaning they will be a client.
Right. If I'm an actor and I look at your website or I have a meeting with you and I find out you're managing X number of clients,
Yeah.
what number makes that a red flag?
Understood. This is a good question. Very good question. So it depends on the number of your team, right?
Okay.
So if it were just me with the 30 people that we represent, that would be too many. That would be a lot for one manager to do an effective job. Now, agents can have hundreds, thousands. I'd say, each agent can have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, right? An agency that have several agents can have thousands, right? So, but because our team is like, I'll say 8 deep between me and my brother and the rest of the team, it's like 8 of us. Because it's 8 of us and we all, we have our own area of responsibility, so to speak, but we all are a team. And so everybody's responsible for everybody. And that's how it's not like, well, my brother is only responsible for this person, this person. Now, for sure, he may have more of a closer relationship with a certain talent, but we all can pick up the phone and jump in and help out with that artist or that talent. And the talent, if they can't reach me, they can reach my brother. They can't reach my brother, they can reach somebody from the team. And that person from the team is going to know everything that's going on with that talent. Because we have the team and the support team, we can now have, 30 clients. We wouldn't go more than 30 because it then becomes a bit heavy. But again, we have like 7 or 8 people that work for the firm. So to answer the question a little more concise, I'll say for every one body or one manager, a good number is 5 to 10. If it's more than 10, it starts getting like,
yeah.
To me. There's something else I think I should add clarity to. There are 2 types of managers in the television and film side of the business, right? You have managers who, in essence, are agents, right? They sit at the computer all day and they look at breakdowns all day and they submit talent to breakdowns all day, just like the agent does. Then you have managers who are kind of hands-on, around the clock, 7 days a week. That's more of Burke management. We have access to breakdowns. We used to sit and look at breakdowns all day. But our philosophy is, well, wait a minute. If our clients have great agents and the agents are doing their job, which is looking at the breakdowns all day, then why are we looking at the breakdowns all day? Because what happens, Chris, is your agent and your manager, so I'm your manager and you have an agent, and a breakdown for a project comes out, we're going to see the same breakdown. They're looking for a Al B. Sure looking guy. Sorry, I had to do it.
I love it.
Between this age and this age, athletic build, blah, blah, you're going to come to mind, right? I'm going to submit you. The agent's going to submit you, right? And then the producers and directors are going to see that submission. They're going to say, yeah, let's bring him in for an audition. Who's the rep? Oh, they're rep by the same person. They'll reach out to one or the other, right? We've done double the work. So my thing was, and this is years ago, my thing was if the agents are doing what they're supposed to do, and we're doing the same thing they're doing, wouldn't our time be better spent creating over here? Right? So while the agent is doing that, we're going to be out beating the drum on creating other opportunities. We're going to work on producing some projects. And Chris, we're going to put you in this project we're producing. And you may say, hey, Burke, I've got this idea that I want to produce and I want to write it and boom, boom, boom. So we'll start working on that and helping get that together and helping get funding and help put that whole and using other clients that we have access to make your project fat. While we're doing that over here, your agent is over here submitting you and pitching you for other projects and getting you auditions. So that's how we found it most effective for our setup. So again, it's two types of managers. It's types that kind of sit and look at breakdowns all day, and you have some that's kind of hitting the pavement in the field on the road, and that's us. When our clients go and do big shows or big events, we usually have someone with them all the time. Somebody from the team will travel with our clients. If it's like a 2 or 3 day shoot, usually they're okay by themselves. But if they're like the lead and going to be there for a week, somebody from our office is going to be there with them the entire time. So they have a rep on hand. So now all you have to do as an actor is focus on your lines, and that's it. You don't need to worry about where's my hair and makeup, where's the food, where's this, where am I supposed to be? You just focus on being on that, getting into that character that they're paying you to be, and you focus on that, and we'll handle everything else on the ground. So that's a little bit about our setup.
Yeah, it's very good. It's kind of like a guerrilla type of management. I know that term's usually say for marketing, guerrilla marketing, where you hit the streets and you actually talk to people and do surveys and you're meeting people face to face. Nobody does that anymore because it's so expensive, but it's still the most effective type of marketing because the person can't escape you. You're like right in front of them. And people tend to lie when they're behind their computer screen about everything. And they can just make a choice. So I like this idea of like having a street team, but for management. That's kind of cool where you're traveling with your talent.
Yeah, and we've been referred to, and I receive it, especially by some of our legends. And when I say legends that we represent, these are people who grew up in this industry. They have often referred to us as old style Hollywood managers.
Mm-hmm. I can see that.
I never set forth to be that. I just wanted to be the best and set forth so the company can be what I felt was the right type of management company. So one thing that I did not want to do coming to Hollywood is I did not want to be under other managers. I just didn't, and it took a while, a longer time for Burke Management to like. So if you remember, I moved to California in 2002. Mm-hmm. We didn't launch the company until 2007.
Right.
It took years to really get this laid out. We didn't sign our first celebrity until 2009. Okay. But I've said that I want this to be a crock pot management company versus a microwave management company. Okay, so, microwave is fine for those that like microwave food. But you take some food that's in a crock pot, the flavors in it, the meat is tender, it's so good and so healthy, tastes longer, but it's so much better for you. So that's how we built the company. Just really slow cooked it and did it the right way. So because we did not take the lead of how other management companies did it, and I really did not want to. I'm like, well, you should read this book about management. I'm like, no, I don't want to read that because I know how I think a star should be treated. I know how I think, and I don't want anyone to tell me nobody's doing that anymore. No, people don't do that. So we are kind of those old school. So if you think Joan Crawford and Betty Davis, like we're the types of managers that they had.
I like that a lot. Staying on your POV, I would like to turn the question I asked previously around, but from your POV, what are you looking for before you say, yes, I'll represent you. Yes, I'll be your manager. What are you looking for in a creative that comes to you looking for a manager? What are those attributes?
So first and foremost, we've got to be able to believe in that talent and that creative. We've got to be able to believe in them. because the reality is when we step in these rooms and these pitch meetings to pitch the creative, usually the creative is not there. So I've got to
Mm.
be able to pitch the creative with so much conviction that I can convince whoever I'm pitching to sign up for this, whatever it is, putting them in a project, funding a project, producing with. I've got to be able to really convince and sell that. I should say we, because our team is it's a group effort, right?
Right.
So what we look for is one, is it someone that's easy to work with? Because everybody's not easy to work with. It's gotta be you, and so it's gotta be the right fit for us and us for them, right? So we look one to see if it's going to be a good fit for us. Is the chemistry going to be right? So typically our process is if someone is interested, even if they're famous, it goes through my VP. Her name is Tanisha Cameron, and my oldest brother Victor Burke. They do the first leg of interviewing before it even comes to me. My brother, because he's my big brother and he knew me before I knew me.
Mm-hmm.
So he knows me really well. He'll know what's a good fit for his young brother. He'll say, my brother, this wouldn't be a good fit for my brother, or this would be a good fit. And he'll call me and tell me, hey, bro, so met with, you're going to love him. Or he may say, I'm going to hold my thoughts, let you meet. But he usually knows. So it's got to be like a really good fit for all of us. And then I meet with them. And so when I meet with them, I'm looking for the drive. I'm looking for you got to believe in yourself before you can get me to believe in it. So I look to see, do you really believe in it? Now, a lot of times people believe in it way more than they really should. Like, okay, I know something's not going to be a good idea, or I feel like it's
Right.
half baked, but they're so convinced. I'm not a dream killer, Chris. I'm not going to be like, oh, this is great. So I'm not going to kill the dream. I will always encourage someone to keep going, even if it's a no from us. It doesn't mean stop. It just means it's not the right fit for us. Or you're going to end up being frustrated because I know we're not going to be able to give you what you are going to need in order to succeed. I've even said to some people, you're going to make it. You're going to be just fine. You have what, but it's not going to be beneficial with us, and it's not going to work with us. But please keep doing what you're doing. You will make it. I'm I can name things and people now who are huge and doing incredible things. And I literally said that it's a no for us, but you're going to be just fine.
Thank you for that. That's great. And I love this idea of, there's such a stereotype in Hollywood of producers being a little too honest with creatives and people who have a dream. I've heard these horror stories of producers saying, you're never going to make it in Hollywood. You should move back where you came from. Stop doing what you're doing now. Things like that, where they could have just said no. Instead, they, in their own way, fed their own ego by sort of layering on the disappointment, the denial, and the no on a little bit thicker than they had to. So I really appreciate your perspective and your way of doing things there. You mentioned the movie Karen in your intro, and
Yes,
we are going to talk about Karen. But it makes me think about all the movies that you've executive produced and you've been a part of, and
yes,
we lived in that world as well. Banzai, we have 3 feature films and global distribution. We've done some projects, short films, comedy specials, etc. And we have our own little sort of matrices on how we decide to invest and why. And we have a really long, I shouldn't say really long. It's an hour and a half, 2-hour episode just on strictly on how to invest and what to look for. But I'm here with you today, so I have to ask you, what's more important from an investment perspective for Vanzil? Is it the cast, the filmmaker, or the story? Which one do you look at most when you're making an investment decision?
the story.
Story over everything. Story is king. I love that. I've always said that. And sometimes I'll get pushback. Sometimes I won't. Sometimes people won't even know what that means. But I would
Nothing is
love for you to
more.
expound on that a little.
Yeah, sure, man. Sure, Chris. Nothing is more important than the story. Not even me. Nothing is more important than the story. We are trying to, because at the point you make the talent bigger than the story, then it becomes about the talent, right?
Mhm.
Now, sure, you need the talent to tell the story, and you may have the talent that you feel that can tell that story best, but they are not the only ones who can tell that story. But that story is the only one that can tell that story, right? So unless you're not going to tell a story, you just want to have an actor because of who they are, basically free for all and improv the whole thing, then that's a different thing. But if you have a script and a story, then the star of that needs to be the story.
Mhm.
So nothing is more important than the story. So we have to say that often. And now I'm going to put my executive producer hat on, my management hat off. So and why did I say that? Let me tell you why I said that. If you look at the films that we've executive produced, every one of them has several of our clients in them,
Mhm.
several, right? And it's been a gift and a curse. The gift is I can attach my clients to projects we're producing with no money because they're our clients, and I have back end deals with them. We take very good care of our clients, so that's a gift. Well, the curse becomes when they're on the project, if there's a problem with them as a talent, because they're not perfect, they're human.
Mhm.
I have to then come down on them as a producer and as executive producer with the understanding the story is the most important thing.
Mhm.
Yes, you are a great actor. Yes, you're my client, but you're now affecting us telling this story, which then affects the investment. That can't happen. So
Right.
we've had to fire some of our own clients
Yeah,
from our
that's
own
awesome.
projects, and that has been tough, and we've had to do it on more than one occasion. But we do it, Chris, because nothing is more important than the story.
That's a great example of that. I've never heard an example like that. But what's fascinating about it is what has to happen next. Your ability to keep them as a client after you fired them from set.
Yes.
That's got to be an interesting and difficult dance.
Well, it is, but they understand, our clients understand nothing's more important than the story. And they understand that. And so every day, every hour costs. As a producer, you've done this,
Yep.
it costs. So at the point where you're costing the production and you're costing because you aren't prepared or whatever reason, right? We've got to make the decision and now we've got to make a business decision at this point.
Right.
And we have been able to retain every client. It's only happened like two times, maybe three times. Two times I could think of right off, and they're still clients right now, and great friends too. Because again, it wasn't that we just came in like, oh, you're out of here. It was like, hey, like you got to tighten up. This is what you're now holding up everything. This is a problem for the production. So like, but these are the things you got to fix like immediately. You need more help, need more support. All good. We're going to bring that in for you. We're going to do this. We're going to make every effort to make this work. All right, let's give it another shot. Come. All right. So now it's costing us. This production is costing us $37,000 a day. I don't have that to keep paying, so we got to do what we got to do because
Yeah,
this show's got to go on.
I love it. And I did a script review recently with a friend, and at the end of it, she was just talking about how does anybody ever know when the story's right or the script's right anyway, almost as a built-in excuse for her. And I said, you'll know because people will start clamoring to it. It's the thing that no one wants to hear. But the truth is you'll know that your song, your story, whatever it is you're creating is great when people start to want to buy it and be involved in it. Everybody knows when something's incredible, and they immediately will recognize, hey, have the shares of this incredible thing been bought up yet? If
Yep.
not, I'm interested. Right?
Right.
It's no one walks past a bar of gold on the ground.
Correct.
They stop, they look around.
Yeah. Very
No
much
one,
yes.
they pick it up. Right? So that's how you know you've gotten there. We talked about your film Karen, and this came out during the pandemic, but also during a moment in the zeitgeist where the term Karen started to become prominent, meme worthy, Twitter worthy, and it has persisted to this day.
Yep.
So I'm sure people still seek the movie, find the movie in searches and things like that. It ended up being number one independent film on Apple TV and iTunes. I'm curious about, did the project get any social or cultural backlash, or was it received positively for the most part, or both? Can you talk about a little bit of the reaction to this movie that came out exactly at the moment
Yeah.
this thing was happening in the world?
No, it was tough. It was tough. We shot Karen, the movie, in Georgia, and I'm going to share with you a full circle moment.
Please.
So remember, I mentioned once I graduated from college, I moved to Atlanta, and I lived in this in a suburb of Atlanta, and it was like an all white neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the neighborhood I left to move to Los Angeles. Well, that was the neighborhood we shot Karen in. And we did not, it was not planned. That was the location that the location managers found. And when we reported to set, I was just like almost in tears. And I was just like, my brother was like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "Bro, this is like," because I don't think he had really even seen the house before. And I'm like, "Bro, this is the neighborhood." And I went and showed him the house. Like, this is the, so just to be there now as a filmmaker was just incredible. But we were experiencing some real Karens while we were shooting the movie in this neighborhood. So when you see the movie, and I do encourage everyone to go see the movie, it's a really good movie. And I'm not just saying it
Can
because
we still watch it on iTunes and Apple TV?
absolutely, yep. You can
Okay.
stream it, you can watch it, you can go to Amazon Prime, you can find it there. I always say, because all of our films we own them, meaning
Mm-hmm.
we don't sell, we license
Mm-hmm.
them. So because they're licensed, after 6 months, a year, depends. Then they go to different platforms. So what I would recommend is, for any of the films we produce, just Google it, and
Mm-hmm.
then when you Google it, it'll tell you where you can watch it right then.
Okay.
But when you see the movie, and for those who have seen it, a big portion of it in the neighborhood takes place in this cul-de-sac. And so in this cul-de-sac, we rented or temporarily or leased 3 houses in the cul-de-sac, which was all the houses in the cul-de-sac. So we leased all of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we did one for production, and for our talent to stay in, and then the other two we used as the houses to shoot out of. And so the neighborhood got wind. It was a subdivision. They got wind of this show called Karen. So they started trying to protest. And then they started sending drones to record what we were doing. And people were out just causing disruptions and calling the police. But we were smart. So we hired the police to be our security. So when they would call the police, they were already there. And it was like, "Oh, yeah, we're here. What's going on?" "Well, they're causing a problem." No, they're not, because we already are here. We're hired to be here. So it was a lot of problems. It was also tough because um, some people took real offense to Karens, and so we most certainly never want to offend anybody. And so it just kind of became a thing where uh, non-black people would say, "Why are you making a movie called Karen? Like you're being a part of the problem." And that's definitely not who we are. We love everybody and we work with everybody. That's how we were raised. So that was a little, challenging just to kind of get past that part, because during that time the racial tension in the country was really high. That was
Right.
during the George Floyds and all the shootings and the police brutality. Like, so a lot of that was already on, and we were in a pandemic. So it was a
Yeah.
lot going on during that time. But we definitely had our challenges, but thank God we were able to overcome them.
Yeah. It's your most successful film that you've done, right?
To date, yes.
So there's a little bit of a lesson in there, which is kind of, and you can add to this, correct it. But my sense of it is that, look, there's a story to be told. Story is king, but we also have to sell this thing.
Yep.
And what do we name it where, a film of this size, this budget can be seen and get notoriety? And that's where you're wearing the producer hat, the filmmaker hat, and the marketer hat all at the same time.
Correct.
Right. So if people can get past the title, then there's a lesson, there's a message in the film.
Right.
And I think the fact that it did so well is evidence of that.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
And kudos to Taryn Manning, who's a total sweetheart to work with. The reason I'm pointing Taryn out is Taryn allowed us to use her name to attach to the project and didn't ask for any money or anything up front. And that's just because of the relationships. Her manager, her manager is Sheila Leggett of Leggett Entertainment. Sheila's a very, very good friend. And so I was able to deal with Sheila. And because we are friends, although we both are managers, so in the eyes of the world, we'll be competitors, but we don't look at it like we're competitors. If I can help her, I'm going to help her. If she can help me, she's going to help me. And I told her, I need you to give us Taryn and let us attach her and let's see if we can get this thing sold, because the script is so good. She'd be perfect to play our Karen and we could get this thing done. And they agreed. And so kudos to Taryn Manning for playing ball with us.
Yeah, tremendous actress as well, and you've probably seen her in Orange Is the New Black and a few other things. She's incredible. And look, the funny thing about all this is that I'm not big into some of the stuff that goes on in culture now and the things that people want you to believe in, et cetera. But I almost find it comical that even middle-aged white women would be upset with the name Karen, because there's no controversy there. A Karen is a description of a person who is using their affluence and influence in the community to get what she wants, even though she doesn't deserve it and shouldn't get it. Cool. And oftentimes does that by calling the manager or calling the cops.
Right.
And you can be a Karen even without doing it to a minority.
Right.
It's just a type of person in culture who causes a stir and makes a fuss when she's told no.
Right.
Basically. Yep. Or when her environment is sullied in some way that she doesn't approve of. There's no controversy there. I can't imagine that any middle-aged white woman would want to identify and say, I'm defending my right to be a Karen. Why?
Right.
Why are you defending your right to be a Karen?
Right.
You would want to be that. You mentioned shooting in Atlanta, companies in LA, Beverly Hills in particular. And this is a great opportunity for those listening to sort of get a sense of the difference between the two places, the two communities. You have Georgia, which is the number one global spot for film production and TV production. They spent $1.2 billion in subsidies last year alone, about 30% higher than the next place. But then you have LA, which is just sort of the home of the film industry in the world. So can you describe the differences between the LA and Atlanta film communities?
Yes. So, how shall I say? There will only be one Hollywood.
Mm.
Hollywood is Hollywood, and there will never be another. That's not to slight or take anything away from Atlanta or Georgia. I'm born and raised in Georgia. I love Georgia. Absolutely love Georgia. Georgia has done an incredible job in this space by encouraging people and productions to shoot there because of the tax benefits.
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood is a lot more expensive to shoot films here. The benefits are hard to get, and they're not as high. They're not as high as the benefits in Georgia. Georgia, they're easier to get and way higher. So why wouldn't you shoot there? Here's the challenge. The challenge is because Hollywood is Hollywood, we have way more actors in Hollywood. We have way more crew in Hollywood. So when you are dealing with Atlanta or Georgia, you're not going to have as many crew everywhere, as many actors. So it could be harder to get quality crew in Atlanta or in Georgia because usually the quality ones are already on projects because there's going to be constant projects. As you just mentioned,
Mm.
it's
Right.
the largest production hub right now is Atlanta. So because that they are working and they're working a lot and they're getting the good work. So when you're coming in as a smaller independent production, not these big majors, you're coming in as a smaller independent. And when I say smaller, even $2 million or $2.5 million project is small compared to a $20 million project, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're not going to get that that creme de la creme crew a lot of
Mm.
times. It's going to be a lot harder. Whereas LA, you have a lot of great crew people here. And they're ready and willing to work. Not that they're not in Atlanta, but it's just more in LA that's available.
Right.
So that's one of the things that we found. If we lost someone from the crew, like even a key, we can have a key replaced, and a key we can have a key replaced in no time,
Right.
an hour. They're on the way. It's going to be a lot harder in Georgia to replace a key
Right.
and get a good quality key. It's
That's
been my
that's
experience.
yeah.
It's
That's
been our
what's
experience.
important.
Yeah,
You mentioned earlier that someone when you got started said, "Hey, read this book on management." You're like, "I don't want to read this book on management. I have my own vision." But I'm sure just being who you are and your background, you do some reading and have some books that have inspired you. Are there any books that you'd recommend on either? Oh, I won't even contextualize it. Just what books would you recommend for this audience?
absolutely. So I read. So right now I'm reading the Master Key System,
Hmm.
and the Master Key System is by Charles Hannell, Hannel, Charles, and the Master Key System is an incredible book, and I'm reading that now. I also have read the 5 a.m. Club by Robert Sharma. I study Robert Sharma. I go to his YouTube and I listen to his videos daily. Um, and then like those are the main books that I read right now. There's another book called Scaling Up that these are all business books and just kind of um, how to build businesses, how to deal with people, how to approach issues and problems and conflict resolution. And then also just how to sit with yourself and get the mindset right. That's what the Master Key System is just kind of working on self. So one thing that happened when I was producing Karen, it was a tough movie to produce. It was tough
Yeah, it sounds like.
because yeah, it was very tough because it was like it was just under $3 million to do it. Um, we were not able to get bonded because during the pandemic, nobody was bonding projects because we didn't know what was going on with this pandemic.
Right.
So you couldn't get a bond. So that means, the
And
bond
just
is,
can I just jump in? Oh, you were going to tell anybody because I
yeah.
was
So
going to tell the audience what a
I'll
bond was.
yeah.
You go ahead. Yep.
Yep. So the bond is basically it's an insurance policy
Yep.
that protects your investors. So I hate to use this example, but the Alec Baldwin movie,
Russ.
yes, exactly. When that shooting happened and that incident happened, I should say, and the DP was killed, that movie production had to stop. But because they were bonded, their investors did not lose their money. The insurance kicked in and paid their investors the money back. So that's important that a film over $1 million has a bond so investors don't lose their money in the unfortunate. Now, if the movie gets completed and it doesn't make money, the bond insurance doesn't pay. But if it shuts down for something that's uncontrollable, then that bond insurance is there. Well, we
Yep.
couldn't get bonded, which means it was going to be a big risk for our investors to put up that money to shoot it, because what if COVID comes in and shuts us completely down, and God forbid somebody dies from COVID on set and now we can't finish the movie. So we couldn't get it bonded. So that was one of the many problems we were having. Um, Chris, I was stressing out. I was waking up like on fire, just out the gate, dealing with problems, and it was just tough. So my business partner, who's my main investor now, he's our main investor now. That's another whole story, but he's been phenomenal. He's a doctor, he's a surgeon, but he's our main investor that funds our films now. He has been big on meditation and reading. And he said to me, he calls me V. He's like, V, man, you're going to have a heart attack or a stroke if you don't start reading and getting
Wow.
grounded, because you wake up on 10 and you're going and you're not even, you got to get grounded. So I started reading. So he started recommending books and meditating. So I start my day with meditation and prayer. I won't pick up a phone call. My brother knows. He'll call me. He says, brother, have you had your coffee? Have you meditated? He knows that if they're those two, I'm not talking. I'm not doing anything until I do that. And I'm going to read a portion of the Master Key System is what we're reading now. My brother reads the same book as well.
Okay.
So we read together, we discuss together. But that's a big part of the life, and that's what keeps me grounded. Also.
What's the best piece of advice you've received in your career, and who did it come from?
Well, the biggest piece of advice came from my dad. And dad has always encouraged us to, if you're going to do it, then do it. And if you're not going to do it, don't do it. And I knew exactly what that meant, which means don't half step and do anything. If you're going to go out and be a producer, then go be the best producer. If you're going to go be a manager, go be the very best manager. And if you're not going to be the very best, and if you're not going to be the very best and do your very best, then don't do it at all. That was from my dad. As a professional, and again, my dad left us before he could see this side of us, but I know he can see it. I could feel it. He's here, right? So he knows exactly what his boys are doing, and he's proud, and that makes us proud. But my business, my business partner and our investor gives us advice all the time. But I won't give you the advice that he has given us. The next advice I'm going to give is from a former client who's a good friend and a producing partner now. We just were not able to really effectively manage her. We were a younger company, but we just thought it'll be better that we work as producing partners together and friends, and we have a wonderful relationship. But it's the phenomenal actress Victoria Rao. You guys may know her from The Young and the Restless, or Drusilla from The Young and the Restless. Phenomenal actress, writer, director, producer now. I got my first experience as a producer working with her. And I'm forever grateful for that. But the biggest piece of advice she gave me, we were doing our first project together called The Rich and the Ruthless. And we did 4 seasons of that. And it's on All Black and BET right now.
Yep.
So we've been fortunate. Everything we produce as Burke Management and Vanzil Burke has gotten distribution. So that's been incredible. But that project, I'll tell you, was a little bit over $100,000 the first season. And she got that from one investor. And she told me, she said, Vanzil, she said, when you get money from your investors, get it back to them, whatever you do. She says, because if you get them their money back, even if they don't make money, but if you at least get them their money back, they will always give you money. But get your investors their money. Don't you even take a dime until you get them their money back. So that's what we do. So when we take money from investors, and again, thankfully, we are fortunate enough to go usually to one investor now. But if I get a dime from an investor, my goal is to get you at least 12 cents back, at least 12 cents. But if I can't get you 12 cents, you can count on you getting that dime back. I'm not taking a penny. I'm not taking a penny, and I usually put that in my deal. I will work, I will produce, I won't take a salary, nothing until I make sure you're whole. Then I'll take a salary once you're whole.
Kudos to you for that, man. I've mentioned, and me and my business partner Nick have mentioned that so many times in our indie talks. These are like episodes where we're just talking about the industry, where we don't have necessarily a interview going on, but we're always shocked when we see producers that have investors and they aren't working hard, and they feel like, hey, my fee was in the budget and we're good, and they just don't realize that, hey, we're your angels. We're the people that believe in you. We're the people who are going to keep believing in you and want to see you go a place. Are we self-interested in the most positive way possible? Yes. But we're the ones that believe in you. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
What do you think are the biggest mistakes filmmakers make? And what advice would you give them to maybe avoid those mistakes?
One big mistake is,
and it could be actors. I should just say creatives in general that you work with.
One mistake I say is not starting something. Right? You got to just start something. You have to, if you believe in it, start putting together a plan and start something. Don't just think it to death, right? Don't be afraid to pull the trigger and go for it, especially if you believe in it. That is a mistake, and I think the way you avoid it, but plan and put in the proper planning to do it right. Don't just, I want to start shooting a movie and I have a script and I need, $200,000. I got $30,000 now. I'm going to go just start tomorrow. Well, I'm not necessarily saying that, but definitely put together the plan and put a date, like put a stake in the ground. We're going to start on this date. Then that's what you work towards. Even if you have to change the date and push it out a little bit, at least you got to put something in the ground. You got to put a stake. So that's the big mistake: is don't procrastinate. Don't plan it to death. Don't think it through to death. Like, just go for it.
It's not necessarily for filmmakers, but outside of the actual craft that's in the movie itself. But for entrepreneurs, I always say one of the best movies that never get listed as best entrepreneur movies is There Will Be Blood with Daniel Day-Lewis. Most people will say Glengarry Glen Ross or like some other sales type movie like that. And those are great in their own right. But the one that's underrated is There Will Be Blood, Daniel Day-Lewis and Paul Dano. It's an amazing movie. And if you really want to see what it's like to start your own business and have no safety net and the type of mindset you have to do it, that is the movie for you. Now, invariably, no question, someone listening is going to be inspired by you today.
Oh,
Someone is going to be inspired when they hear this. And so, with that understanding, me just knowing that's going to happen, someone's going to say, okay, what if I want to be like Vanzil? Like, what if I want to go be a talent manager? So, what are the first three things you would teach someone that just made the decision today that they're going to be a talent manager? What would be the first three things you'd teach them on their journey to be a talent manager themselves?
people first.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
People first. Well, I should say God first, but that's just kind of quite naturally. But people first,
Mm-hmm.
not money, integrity,
Mm-hmm.
honesty. As a talent rep, you got to have those three down. The people first. Nothing's more important than the people. People first. You have to have integrity. This is a business where that's all you have. And then that honesty. You just have to have that real honesty. People first means if there's a project that a client is asked to do and it's a good payday,
Mm-hmm.
but I know it's not the right project for them, I'm not going to say, but we really could use that commission. So let's do that when I know it's not the right project for them. People first. I have to think about where you're going as a career. Do I think that this is a good role for you? And you are a young parent with children that's going to see this, or parents. Would they like? I think we think about all of that before we take projects. People first, then integrity. You have to have a high level of integrity to be in this business and as a rep and to do it the right way, a high level of integrity. Because as a talent rep, I literally represent somebody. So when I am done with this interview, while I'm out about in the streets or in LA or Beverly Hills, I am still a rep for very famous people. I have to have the right amount of integrity. I can't go and curse people out. I can't act stupid. I can't be out drinking and drunk, because if something were to happen, it becomes such and such's manager was seen doing this. Such
Mm-hmm.
and such's manager was, because I represent them. So that integrity has always got. I'm going to always treat people right. We as a company are going to treat people right, and everyone who works with Burke Management has to have that same philosophy. So we ask these questions when we're interviewing. I had to go through this with my oldest brother too,
Yeah.
like to make sure he understands what our philosophy is, and then just being honest, having that honesty, be honest to be able to tell someone, hey Chris, that ain't it, bro. That's not it. You got to try it again. I know you can do better, but that's not it. As opposed to, okay, yeah, that looks good. That sounds good, Chris. Yeah. If it doesn't, I've got to be able to be honest with our clients and say, that ain't it. Or, we have to have hard conversations sometimes. You're not looking polished. Just being honest, because that goes a long way. That goes a long way.
I love all three of those. And I think people first would probably be for people who are good people, sort of from the jump. People
Yeah.
first would be the hardest one to learn. But there are other people who just, they are kleptomaniacs. They are affected by vices. And then I think that number two, number three, that integrity, honesty part starts to get really, really difficult. Now, on the actual tools and tech side of this, if someone was to start a management firm, talent management firm, is there any software or tools that you use or that you'd recommend they use to start their business or to track or manage their clients?
So I mean, listen, the tool that we use in the industry is IMDb Pro, right?
Okay.
So I would say definitely would need IMDb Pro, sign up, pay for it. You can't really do anything on a real level without having IMDb.
Right.
As far as any other tools, and then breakdowns, it's just good to kind of be in the mix with breakdowns, and then also just having access to the trades, so you kind of can be in the know.
So Variety.
Variety, Hollywood Reporter,
Yeah,
just so you're aware and being in the know.
love it. It's very,
Headline.
very good. There are some interesting tools coming out. IMDb Pro will always be, I think, sort of home base because they took the time, they did the work, as you said earlier, to sort of build that reputation. I know
Mm-hmm.
Variety has VScore, that they're
Mm-hmm.
trying to sort of compete with VScore. There's a service called Luminate that's really interesting, but
Yep.
incredibly pricey. But if you're in the industry, it might feel worthwhile to get into that because it has all these breakdowns and you can export them and have them as your own spreadsheet. So shout out to Luminate as well if you guys want to look
Mm-hmm.
that up. Without naming names, or if you want to name names, you can. Have you ever had a celebrity that you've had to turn down as a client? So they're already a celebrity, and if so, why?
So there's been a couple of times that we've had to turn down celebrities as clients, as potential clients. And the reason why is when we first started, if you were a celebrity, we would sign you, right? And it was almost like clockwork. But then after a while, we started really understanding. We started really understanding who we were as a management company and the
Those
types
values you talked about before.
those values, and making sure that we are a good fit for people and people are a good fit for us. Right. So if we know, because I've been doing this so long now, literally since I was a kid, because and I didn't go into that, but we were managing, me and my brother were managing people since I was in middle school and he was in high school. So because I've been dealing with talent so long, I now have gotten that piece where I know based on conversations and what you're looking for if we're going to be a good fit for them. So there's one very famous person in particular. I'm a fan, which
Yeah.
was even harder. I am a fan and love the work, but we were in a meeting and my brother and I were meeting with this person and we just kind of looked at each other and it's like, we love it and we love you, but it's not going to be a good fit for us. We would sign now, we would get champagne and toast, and everybody's happy. But I can guarantee you, 4 months down the road, 5 months down the road, they're going to be very frustrated. You're going to be very frustrated because what you're looking for is, in our opinion, a little bit unrealistic, and not to say you shouldn't go get it, but we are not the ones that are going to try to get that for you, and it's going to end up being very frustrating to you.
Yeah.
We don't want to do that, and so so we just have gotten better at saying no.
Do you ever have to deal with writers for your clients?
Writers,
Yeah. Like
um, yeah,
RIDER,
absolutely,
like what's
yep.
the strangest writer that you've been, again, without naming any names if you don't want to. Have you ever
Um,
had any super strange writers in a contract?
no, I'm not going to say super strange. And the reason I say super strange is because with the people that we represent and that like we manage people who need to be managed, right?
Mhm.
So we usually, as part of our questions, are two questions. One, are you manageable? And then two, do you need management? Like, do you need management? Because everyone doesn't need management. Like, we had another very famous person on Big Show, but they just didn't need management because they do so much for themselves, right?
Yeah.
And so they need management, but not our style of management because we're very hands on. And you'll see where I'm going with this. So, because we're very hands on and we are good with signing on people who need to be managed, we just kind of, so they come in and they listen to us. So we get what would you like in your rider? And they, I want this. And we're like, yep, no, we're not doing that. No, no. Well, here's your rider, and you're going to be very happy with it. And our clients trust us, and they trust us, and they say, yep, okay, this is good. I'm glad. I'm happy with this. So it's been nothing crazy. We
Good.
kind of do a little bit more than they need sometimes. Like, we're gonna make sure they have security, and we just are very protective of our clients. "Oh, I don't think I need all that." Like, you don't realize what you need. We know what you need, and this is what you need. And then they get there, it's like, "Oh my God, I'm so glad I had that because I didn't realize." Like, yeah, but that's what we're here for.
Yeah. When I think about Burke Management, I think about this concept of adding stars. I want to say this came from Derek Sivers, but I could be wrong about that. I'll have producer Elise and Papa Bear double check me on this. But the idea is that if you go to a hotel and it's a 3-star hotel, the hotel manager might ask, "How do I make this a 4-star experience?" Okay, now how do I make it a 5-star experience?
Right.
And you don't have to stop there. How do I make it 6-star, 7-star, 8-star? And when I think about what you're accomplishing and doing every day, I think to myself, Vanzil sits back and says, "Okay, we got a 5-star experience right now for this client. What will we have to do to make it 6?"
100%. You got it.
And I really appreciate that about your approach. Now, tell me if this is true or not, but I think when you were a child, you got to see LL Cool J up close when he came to Albany State University for a homecoming concert,
Yes.
but you were less interested in LL and more interested in his manager who was running around putting out fires, which, as we were told, was the spark that actually made you want to potentially even be a manager in the first place. So
Well,
tell us about that story. And then, are you still the kind of guy who is more interested and gets enjoyment from putting fires out?
um, so the story is true. As I mentioned to you before, we were in a rap group, or as you brought up, Funky Fresh
Yeah.
Crew, and so we go. I don't know. I'm gonna do something really corny. I'm gonna show
Oh,
you a
please.
picture. Okay, so this. Let's see if I can.
Yeah, I
So,
see it. I see it. You're framed up
okay.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, look at
So
that. There he is. LL.
yeah. So that's me in the blue shirt. That's my middle brother, the other rapper, in the white t-shirt and the LL in the middle. And if you see behind, you see payphones back there, right?
Hmm.
So my oldest brother, Victor, is one that took that picture. What happened is Victor wanted me to take a picture with LL. I was so scared, but I go and take the picture with them. And then after we take the picture, my middle brother, goes off to the corner and talk to LL. His manager then comes and uses that payphone. And I'm just standing there, just still kind of in shock. And the manager is talking to who I'm pretty sure was like the next city that they were going to. And he was like, not yelling, but it was very intense conversation.
Yeah.
And so he's in this intense conversation with them, and I was like kind of nervous and scared listening to him, talking to this guy or whomever he's talking to, and then he kind of everything kind of de-escalates, and he gets it all back together. It's like, all right, great, we'll be there in the morning. Blah 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 blah. Fine. So after that was over, we walk over to LL, and I'm just standing next to the manager and the DJ, which was Bobcat, I think it was. And LL kind of looks at him and says, "Hey, how's everything going? Everything good?" And then the manager's like, "Yep, everything's perfect." And I was just thinking, no, it was like World War II just a minute ago. World War II. But then the manager
Yeah.
looked at me and winked, right? So
Yeah.
he's like, "Well, everything's all good. We're all set." And he looked at me and winked. And what I knew, I understood what that meant, which is LL just needs to stay focused on being the star. I'm dealing with the drama and I've already handled it. Everything's taken care of. And so that's when I was thinking, I'm like, so managers are the fixers. They're the ones that take care of everything. And I'm like, I want to be, I want to be that guy. I want to support the star. I want to be that guy. And so that was always kind of like one of those things that was my motivation, as a child and as a kid to kind of do that. And so although I wanted to be a doctor because I wanted to be rich, when that Hollywood opportunity came up to go to Hollywood, I'm like, I want to be a manager. And it's always been that piece. Believe it or not, I got a chance to see LL as an adult in Beverly Hills and was able to let him know and share that that weekend changed my life. And his team made me want to be and do what I'm doing now. And so I showed him that picture and he says, "You're not going to believe me, but I remember this picture." And I was like, "Yeah, you're right. I don't believe you." And he was like, it was somewhere down south. He said, because I just started, like that was me when I was first starting. And he's like, and I want to say Georgia. I said, bro, I said, it was Albany, Georgia. He said, yep, Albany, Georgia. And so I believed him. He said, I remembered this time. So that just meant a lot
That's
to me.
incredible.
But it felt so good to be able to come full circle to let him know, thank you for being so kind to this little kid, because I was very comfortable, which then made me get close to his manager at the time and help open a little kid's eyes to what he could do. And
Yeah.
so I always tell my clients who are big stars, be kind to your fans. When they're talking to you, put your phone down. When someone wants to take a picture, put your phone down and give them that moment, even if it's for a minute or a second, give them that moment, because you never know how impactful that'll be for them for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, it's huge. I think Dan Patrick once said, for the star, it's a forgettable moment. For the person asking for the autograph or the picture, it's the moment they'll remember for the rest of their life.
Literally,
And so as a star, just remember that
literally.
that you're engaged in a moment that is going to be potentially a keystone moment in their life.
Yes,
And
yes,
it's happening to you all the time.
yes.
So that's a good way to certainly think about it. And the universe smiles on you, Vanzil. And I'll tell you what, you've smiled on the Make It podcast today. You've been so generous with your time. I have just one or two more questions, and we'll get you out of here. You've mentioned your dad as a through line in this entire conversation,
Yes.
and I'm wondering if you wouldn't mind describing the last conversation you had with your dad.
Yeah. Um, yeah, man. So my dad had a brain tumor. He died from glioblastoma multiforme. It's the brain tumor that killed Johnny Cochran and John McCain. And it's a devastating, horrible form of cancer. And the last conversation that I had with my dad, he just encouraged me to keep going and don't stop. Um, that he was hopeful to be around, but he wasn't sure what God had planned for him. And always take care of mom, and to just never give up and just always go. And he's very proud of us. And he says, and no matter what, make sure you finish school. I was a junior in college when I lost him. And so that was the last conversation that I was able to have with him. And then for about the next 3 weeks, he was, really not able to talk. And then he transitioned.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I know that, in that last, well, first of all, just from researching, taking the time to research everything I could about you, which is, what we do here, obviously, but I could just tell that he was an incredibly impactful, person, and that you're hell bent on keeping all the promises you made to him about
Absolutely.
what you were going to do with your life, do it yourself, and how you're going to treat people and treat the world. And it's a tough way to get to that point. I've lost my mom, but I'm lucky to still have my dad around. So, you don't want to take it for granted, and you certainly don't. So I think
Yeah.
that's incredible. You work with a lot of talent, a lot of actors,
Mm-hmm.
and I hear this a lot from actors, that the rejection that happens, on a casting call, on an audition, whatever it may be, just in daily life, magazines, publicity, etc., Twitter, gossip. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to manage your mental health in Hollywood as a celebrity or as someone who's trying to become a household name. And I'm sure also as a person who has to manage people that are going through that, you go through the same thing. So I'm just curious if you've been in a dark place before, and if so, how did you get out of it?
So, because I'm so spiritual, I can't say that I've been in a dark place before, like that, because I am very spiritual. So I know where my help comes from, and I know where, like, I pull my strength from God and not from man.
Mm-hmm.
So a man telling me no doesn't. I mean, that's like my brother says, when I'm told no, that's the beginning of my negotiating, because I'm going to get that yes, right? So
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I'm perfect and I don't have bad days, because I do, but I don't really go into dark places. Now, as it relates to my talent and our clients, who do get told no a lot regularly, and can get beat up, the way we do two things. One, when they go in audition, we tell them, don't, and we stress this, don't audition for the role, audition
Mm-hmm.
for the room, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you go in, don't even think about getting that role. Just audition, impress the producers, impress the directors, impress the casting director with your audition, period. Because even if it's a no, if you kill it, they'll remember that. They will remember that. Another role may come up for that same project, or a role will come up for another project they're involved with, and they're going to remember that audition that such and such did. They will get, and that's where the direct offer comes from. We do it all the time as producers. We're casting shows that we're producing, and we will remember an amazing audition that we did not select them to be in that role for whatever reason, but we remember they'll be perfect for this project because of that audition. Remember, go pull that tape. I think the name was so and so. Go pull that tape, and we'll look at it. Yep, make them a direct offer. Happens all the time.
Really?
Yes. So I tell
Wow.
people, don't be discouraged if you don't get a role. Just, my thing is, did you have a great audition? Did you audition for the room? And did you leave a good impression? Man, I killed it. I felt good. Great. We won already, whether you get that role or not.
Right. It's like it's a temperament thing.
Yeah.
And I also think, even though it may not have been your intention, you did kind of answer the question though, which is, I think, hey, find something to be spiritual about. It
Yeah.
could be it could be religion, it could be something else. And you've talked about it a few times in this conversation, the power of meditation.
Yes.
I can attest to that, having restarted my meditation practice for the same reason your doctor friend, your surgeon friend told you.
Yeah.
I'm waking up, I'm on 10,
Yep.
high stress. I started to get it back, Vanzil. You know why? Because I found that I was starting to get short with the people I love the most. They would talk to me, they'd say something to me, and I'd snap at them.
Yep.
That's not like me. I'm a
Yep.
fun loving, light guy. And
Yep.
all of a sudden I'm snapping at all these people who love me the most,
Yep.
and kids included. And I was like, I've got to take a chill pill. I've
Yeah.
got to relax. I've got to lower the stakes a little bit
Yep.
in terms of how I view myself, because the part that was really getting me was that I was viewing myself in a negative light because I wasn't getting what I wanted all the
Right.
time.
Right.
And that spirituality, um, we're real close. Our mentors were, Dick Gregory, and close to the Gregory family, and he's the one that actually got us into this business, and in an indirect way. And he's always given the advice, hey, go out in the morning and just get some sunlight on your face for 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So even that can help you if you're in a dark place,
Yeah.
and even you can even make that meditative and spiritual. So
Mm-hmm.
there's lots of ways to get through it. So I appreciate that. I appreciate you. The time you've given has been incredible. I know it's going to be super valuable. Can you tell everybody where they can find you on the internet, where they can see some of your work, where they can get in touch with you, and how they can find Cocaine Sisters.
Yeah, sure. So I'm on Instagram. You can find me on Instagram. It's Burke MGMT, as in management. So Burke, B as in boy, URKE, M like Mary, G like good, M like Mary, T like Tom. Burke MGMT. And Facebook, Vanzil Burke, first and last name. And then our project Cocaine Sisters can be found on Urban Flix TV. So if you go to Apple Store or Google Play and just type in Urban Flix, that's URBAN Flix, FLIX, Urban Flix TV. The app pops up, and there you go. And we have two shows that we've executive produced on that platform: Cocaine Sisters and Hoe Phase, spelled HEAUXE Phase. That's another whole project. They're great. They're both very, very great projects. Hoe Phase is a 11 episode series, and Cocaine Sisters will be 15 episodes.
Incredible. And you have a couple of other shows, and we'll end on this. Critter Fixers, right? And on Nat Geo, I'm curious, what is the most unusual critter they've ever found on Critter Fixers, or that you've seen?
I will say a camel, because and so they called and said, we're working on a camel. I said, but bro, we live in Middle Georgia. What are you doing? What is a camel doing in Middle Georgia? First of all, it's not right there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll say a camel.
It's a great question, because this is a true story. It is sad, but it's also funny. In, I want to say, Camden, Tennessee, which is, I mean, it can't have more than 50,000 people. It's a small town, just like you come from. 2 men were killed by a camel, and I was like, what is a camel doing in Tennessee?
Right, and how did he kill him?
He got angry. The camel got loose, and somebody got too close to the camel. Camel messed him up.
Yeah, wow.
And so I think what happened, Vanzil, is that there are these exotic traders that take these camels and not weird animals, but just animals from different places.
Yeah.
And then they bring them over to Florida. And then the people in Florida can't maintain it, kind of like Tiger King or whatever.
Right.
And then they escape.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's how you get a camel in Georgia.
Correct. Exactly.
Camel migrates up.
All the way to Georgia. That's it.
Imagine being on a hike and seeing a camel instead of a deer.
Camel.
Yeah. That's the best. That's the best. And so are you, man. Next time I'm out in LA, I got to look you up. Let's get some coffee.
No, let's do it.
Whatever we're going to do. And I know we'll stay in touch, man. This has been incredible. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Chris. I appreciate it.
Anytime. Be good.
Take care.
Peace.